She had that kind of presence that bends the atmosphere around it. When she entered a room, conversations subtly recalibrated. Eyes followed her without meaning to. Smiles came easier. It wasn't just beauty, though she had that too. It was precision. Everything about her felt intentional, curated, like a well-edited version of a life rather than a raw one. The way she dressed struck the balance between effortless and refined. The way she spoke carried warmth without vulnerability, confidence without arrogance. And when she looked at you, really looked at you, it felt like the rest of the world had temporarily been dismissed. I remember thinking I'd stumbled onto something rare. What I didn't know then was that rarity and authenticity aren't the same thing. We met at work, which gave everything a sense of safety. She'd been hired into another department, but our paths crossed often enough to make conversation inevitable. From the very first exchange, there was an ease that felt familiar, almost pre-approved. She was sharp, but not performatively intelligent. Quick with humor, quicker with insight. She had that ability to read a room and adjust her tone mid-sentence, to say exactly what landed. She remembered things. Small things. Details from conversations weeks earlier that most people forget the moment they leave the room. That alone made her feel different. Made me feel noticed. Everyone liked her. That wasn't an exaggeration. I watched it happen in real time. Co-workers, clients, even people whose names she probably didn't know well. She had a way of leaning in, of listening just long enough to make people feel important. At the time, I told myself she was just naturally kind. A people person. Someone generous with attention. It never occurred to me that charm can be learned the same way any other skill is learned. Practiced. Refined. Deployed with intention. Some people don't connect because they feel deeply. They connect because they understand the mechanics of connection. Our conversations stretched. First a few minutes here and there, then lunches that ran long, then walks after work that felt spontaneous but happened often enough to form a pattern. She shared stories that felt intimate. Childhood memories. Family frustrations. Dreams she framed as fragile, as if trusting me with them was an act of courage. Each disclosure made me feel chosen. Special. Like I'd been singled out from the crowd to see behind the curtain. I responded in kind. I talked about my divorce. The years it took to rebuild myself. The mistakes I'd owned, the growth I'd fought for. I hadn't been that open in a long time. She listened with focus. With validation. She said things that landed perfectly. That I was self-aware. That most men never do the work I'd done. That I deserved someone who saw me. I didn't realize it then, but I was handing her a blueprint. I was telling her exactly what affirmation sounded like to me. And she was intelligent enough to mirror it back flawlessly. I did what men do when they believe something real is forming. Small gestures. Thoughtful ones. A book she'd mentioned in passing. Coffee on mornings she looked tired. A scarf when she complained about the cold. Nothing extravagant. Just signals of care. She accepted everything with grace, never entitlement. Always appreciation. In my mind, we were moving somewhere. Slowly, respectfully, the way you do when you don't want to ruin something that feels promising. What I didn't know was that this progression wasn't exclusive. That the sense of intimacy I felt wasn't unique. I was experiencing one version of a pattern being run in parallel. The same conversations, the same emotional pacing, the same sense of being almost but not quite chosen was happening with other men at the same time. Each of us believing we were on a private path. Each of us unaware we were sharing the same script. Meeting her at work blurred my perception in ways I didn't understand then. The professional setting gave her credibility by default. She wasn't a stranger from an app. She was someone vetted by employment, someone I saw daily in a controlled environment. That created a false sense of knowing her. It also slowed me down. I didn't want to be reckless. I didn't want to make things awkward. So I moved carefully. Took my time. respected boundaries. What I didn't realize was that patience can be exploited just as easily as impulsiveness. I only ever saw her in one role, one environment. 5 days a week, the same polished version. Everything else, I filled in with assumptions, and every assumption favored her. That's the quiet danger of workplace romance. You think you're getting to know someone, but you're really just watching a performance on repeat. She was available, but never fully. Responsive, but never immediate. Warm, but with an edge of distance that kept me slightly unsure. I interpreted it as maturity. Healthy boundaries. A full life. What I see now is that controlled availability maintains leverage. It keeps interest alive by withholding certainty. It's a way of holding power while appearing passive. When I finally told her I wanted more, she didn't reject me. She asked for time. She spoke about past hurt, about wanting to be sure, about needing space to sort things out. She sounded sincere, vulnerable. I believed her. I told her I understood, that I'd wait, that there was no pressure, and I meant it. What I didn't know then was that requests for time are often a way to pause commitment without stopping the benefits. Attention continues. Validation continues. Support continues. Options stay open. I waited. She didn't choose. And somewhere beneath the surface, my intuition had already started whispering that something wasn't right, even if I wasn't ready to listen yet. Intuition rarely shouts. It murmurs. It sends small signals most people are trained to ignore because they don't come with proof. At first, it was nothing concrete. Just moments that didn't quite align. Her phone always face down. Stepping away to take calls. Vague weekend plans that never had names or places attached to them. Answers that sounded complete but somehow lacked weight. When I asked about her life outside work, she gave me stories, but they felt rehearsed, like anecdotes she'd told before and knew landed well. She redirected conversations smoothly, so smoothly I barely noticed it happening. Almost. I noticed how often she complained about men. How selfish they were. How dishonest. How they only wanted one thing. I listened, nodded, positioned myself as the exception. The understanding one. The safe one. It didn't occur to me that someone who constantly talks about being mistreated might be revealing something about themselves, not the world. Patterns repeat. Stories recur. At the time, I thought I was earning trust. In reality, I was being categorized. Money is where masks slip, even on people who are otherwise disciplined. She was always struggling financially. Not dramatically. Subtly. A declined card here. An unexpected bill there. Borrowing small amounts that somehow never circled back. She dressed well, kept up appearances, but there was always a low-level crisis humming beneath the surface. I helped when I could. I told myself it wasn't about the money. It was about support. About being there. What I didn't ask was the obvious question. How does someone with a decent job, no dependents, and no visible expenses always have nothing? Why was there no buffer, no plan, no stability? Financial chaos is rarely isolated. It usually mirrors deeper issues with impulse, accountability, and foresight. I ignored that because generosity felt better than suspicion. And because I wanted to believe the image she was selling. The truth didn't arrive dramatically. No confrontation. No discovery that knocked the wind out of me all at once. It leaked in through a crack. A comment from a mutual acquaintance. A name I didn't recognize used too casually. Something that didn't fit the version of reality I'd been operating in. I didn't panic. I didn't accuse. I just started paying attention. Really paying attention. Noticing without filtering. And slowly, the picture changed. There was another man. Then another. And then the realization that there had probably always been several. I wasn't special. I was one of many. Each of us occupying a different lane. Each of us receiving a tailored version of her. The thoughtful messages weren't unique. The emotional intimacy wasn't exclusive. The time she needed wasn't for healing. It was for management. The weekends, I couldn't quite place her. She was with someone else. The financial problems. Money flowing in from multiple directions. Each man believing he was helping a woman temporarily down on her luck. Each of us operating on partial information, carefully rationed so no one could see the full map. I wasn't her priority. I was a contingency. A resource kept warm in case other options cooled. Acceptance didn't come all at once. First denial. There had to be an explanation. Then bargaining. Maybe it wasn't as bad as it looked. Maybe I misunderstood. Then the quiet, heavy clarity that settles when there's nothing left to negotiate with. I hadn't been deceived in a dramatic way. No grand lies. Just omissions. Selective truth. Strategic silence. She didn't fabricate reality. She edited it. The more I learned, the more I understood how deliberate it all was. Different men served different functions. One provided money. Another access. Another emotional validation. I provided something too, though even now I'm not entirely sure what. Each of us saw a different version of her, calibrated to our desires. She was a mirror, not a partner. Reflecting back whatever kept the attention flowing. This wasn't traditional cheating. There were no explicit commitments to violate. That was the genius of it. Plausible deniability built into the structure. She wasn't lying, technically. She just wasn't telling the whole truth to anyone. And that's often enough to manipulate without ever being caught in a clear contradiction. As I traced her history backward, things she'd told me about her upbringing took on a different tone. The instability. The revolving partners. The chaos she framed as trauma but now looked more like a blueprint. We repeat what we grow up with, even when we swear we won't. Dysfunction becomes familiar. Familiar becomes comfortable. Boundaries that were never modeled never get learned. Understanding that didn't excuse her behavior, but it contextualized it. This wasn't personal. It wasn't about me lacking something. It was a pattern she'd been running for years, maybe decades. Polished over time. Made more efficient. Damage refined into strategy. When I finally confronted her, calmly, without accusation, her reaction told me everything. No shame. No remorse. Just justification. She was single. She owed no one anything. Why was I being possessive? On paper, she was right. No rules had been broken. But ethics aren't built on technicalities. There's a difference between what you can defend and what you'd be proud to have exposed. What killed any remaining feeling wasn't what she'd done. It was how little it mattered to her that it hurt anyone at all. And how quickly she moved on, as if the conversation itself had been a minor inconvenience rather than a reckoning. That's when I realized this wasn't new for her. I was just another adjustment in a system designed to keep running, no matter who fell out of it. Something strange happens when an illusion collapses completely. You expect devastation, grief, that hollow ache people talk about when something meaningful ends. That's what I braced for. But that's not what came. What came instead was nothing. A sudden, almost surgical absence of feeling. One day, I would have bent my life around her. The next, there was no emotional residue left to hold on to. And that's when it hit me. You can't mourn something that never existed. The woman I thought I knew wasn't real. She was a construction. A carefully assembled character designed to resonate with the unmet needs of whoever was in front of her. Once I saw the machinery behind the performance, the attraction evaporated instantly. Not gradually. Instantly. Because attraction requires belief. And belief had died. That clarity was cold, but it was clean. Looking back with open eyes, everything took on a transactional shape. The gifts I gave weren't gestures. They were inputs. Logged. Expected to continue. The warmth I received was proportional to my usefulness in that moment. When I gave attention, validation, resources, the connection flowed. When I needed reassurance, consistency, or clarity, there was always a reason to delay. Always a reason why now wasn't the right time. I was operating under the assumption of partnership. She was operating under the logic of exchange. We weren't misunderstanding each other. We were playing different games entirely. Some people don't experience relationships as bonds. They experience them as arrangements. Intimacy is traded for provision, affection for access, attention for stability. It's not always conscious. It's often learned. But if you're looking for mutual investment and you're dealing with someone who sees connection as currency, you will always overpay. Here's the part most men don't want to hear. The red flags were there early. I saw them. I just chose not to integrate them. The constant criticism of men while actively collecting male attention. The financial instability that never resolved. The vagueness about her personal life. The endless need for time that never led anywhere. None of that was hidden. I explained it away because I wanted the story to be true. That wasn't her doing. That was mine. Attraction is a powerful filter. It doesn't just highlight what you like. It suppresses what you don't want to see. I wasn't deceived because she was skilled. I was deceived because I was invested. I wanted connection badly enough to negotiate with reality. I rationalized inconsistencies. I reframed discomfort as patience. I called anxiety understanding. I participated in my own confusion. Another mistake was assuming the rules hadn't changed. I came into this with outdated expectations. I grew up in a dating culture where exclusivity was implied by progression, where emotional intimacy meant narrowing focus. That's not how things operate now. Today, nothing is assumed. Everything is optional until explicitly defined. She wasn't violating modern norms. She was exploiting them. In her framework, keeping options open wasn't immoral. It was strategic. Commitment wasn't offered. It was extracted. And unless you explicitly define terms early, you're not in a relationship. You're in a holding pattern. One where the other person controls pace, access, and information. That realization didn't make me bitter. It made me precise. I started understanding where I'd surrendered leverage. I gave emotional access without clarity. I gave resources without commitment. I gave patience without timelines. Those aren't virtues. They're vulnerabilities. Boundaries don't make you cold. They make you legible. They force alignment or reveal misalignment quickly. Charm stopped impressing me after that. I learned to separate social skill from character. Someone being smooth doesn't mean they're sincere. Someone being warm doesn't mean they're safe. The ability to make people feel good is neutral. It can be used to connect or to control. And people who are very good at it often use it for whichever benefits them most. Information asymmetry was another lesson. She knew my history, my wounds, my values. I knew almost nothing about the structure of her real life. That imbalance alone should have stopped everything. When someone has full visibility into you while remaining opaque themselves, you're not building intimacy. You're being assessed. Verification matters. Not interrogation. Verification. Meet friends. See how someone lives. Observe patterns over time. Pay attention to how they handle responsibility, money, conflict. Personas can be maintained for weeks, sometimes months. But time exposes seams. Inconsistencies accumulate. The real person always surfaces. Patience isn't passive. It's investigative. It gives reality time to reveal itself. If someone rushes intimacy but resists clarity, that's not depth. That's deflection. This experience changed me. Before, I believed authenticity attracted authenticity. That effort would be reciprocated simply because it was sincere. I don't believe that anymore. Not because sincerity is useless, but because it's not rare enough to protect you. Deceptive people rely on the assumption that good intentions equal good outcomes. They don't. Some would call this cynicism. I call it calibration. I lost something in this process. A kind of romantic innocence. But what I gained was discernment. And that trade, painful as it was, may have saved me from a much greater cost later. A situationship hurts. A lifetime entanglement with someone like this destroys. There's a phrase that stays with me now. Emotional pain is tuition. You either pay it early and learn, or you avoid it and pay compound interest later. I paid. It hurt. But it taught me how to see. And once you see clearly, you don't go back. What stayed with me wasn't anger. Anger would have been easier. Anger gives you someone to fight, someone to blame. What stayed was clarity. The kind that settles in your chest and doesn't move. The understanding that what I encountered wasn't rare, dramatic, or even particularly personal. It was structural, predictable, almost boring once you see it for what it is. The woman everyone wanted never existed. She was an interface. A carefully maintained point of contact between her needs and other people's resources. Connection wasn't something she experienced. It was something she managed. Charm wasn't an expression of feeling. It was a tool. And tools don't care who they're used on. I don't hate her. Hate requires emotional investment, and that disappeared the moment I saw the full picture. I don't think she's evil. I think she's fractured in ways she probably doesn't recognize, running patterns installed long before I ever met her. Survival strategies mistaken for personality. Manipulation reframed as independence. Damage normalized into identity. But understanding someone's damage doesn't obligate you to accept being damaged by them. That distinction matters. Men are rarely taught how to recognize this kind of dynamic. We're taught to pursue, to be patient, to be generous, to prove sincerity through effort. And with the right person, those traits build something real. With the wrong person, they become liabilities. Open doors for extraction. Invitations to be managed. If you're a man navigating the dating world, especially if you've been out of it for a while, you need to internalize this without becoming bitter. Watch behavior, not words. Words are cheap. Patterns are expensive to fake. Anyone can say they value honesty. Fewer people live in ways that require it. Trust your intuition. That quiet discomfort you can't quite articulate isn't insecurity. It's pattern recognition. Your mind noticing mismatches before your ego catches up. Don't suppress it to appear mature. Investigate it to stay sane. Maintain boundaries early. Emotional access, time, resources, vulnerability, those aren't starter gifts. They're earned through consistency and reciprocity. Giving them away without clarity isn't kindness. It's negligence toward yourself. Learn to separate charm from character. Social intelligence isn't moral intelligence. Someone being good at connection doesn't mean they're good for connection. Some people are skilled at creating intimacy without ever intending to sustain it. Equalize information. If someone knows your inner world while you know nothing about how they actually live, you're not bonding. You're being evaluated. Meet the people in their life. Observe how they handle money, conflict, responsibility. Reality always leaks through behavior. Move slowly. Time is the great revealer. Manipulation relies on speed, fog, and emotional momentum. Slow pacing forces alignment or exposes avoidance. Patience isn't weakness. It's protection. And never assume commitment that hasn't been explicitly confirmed. In the modern dating landscape, nothing is implied. Everything is optional until stated clearly. If exclusivity matters to you, name it early. Ambiguity always benefits the person with the most options. The hardest part of all this was admitting my role in it. Not in blaming myself, but in reclaiming agency. I ignored what I saw because I wanted the story to be true. I filtered reality to protect hope. That's a human mistake. A common one. But once you see it, you don't get to unsee it. That's the real gift hidden inside experiences like this. Once illusion collapses, discernment sharpens. You stop chasing connection and start evaluating alignment. You stop being impressed by surface and start listening for substance. I'm not colder now. I'm clearer. I haven't closed myself off. I've refined my standards. I don't give access to people who haven't shown they can hold it. And that shift changes everything. If parts of this story felt uncomfortably familiar, you're not weak. You're not foolish. These dynamics are designed to confuse. They only work when you don't know what to look for. Now you do. Seeing clearly doesn't guarantee you'll never encounter this again. But it ensures you won't stay once you do. And that difference is everything.